Hi everyone! So in this video you'll see Pedro go in the cage for the first time with the ladies, which I know is what you've all been waiting for, and you sort of have a sneak peek of it behind me right now. Everything seems pretty calm. I just put in some pea flakes so they're all kind of trying to find those. And along the way, I thought it would be a good idea to do a Q&A, so thank you to everyone who posted your questions about guinea pig bonding and behaviour in the last video. I've picked out 8 or so to answer, and most of the video is going to be footage of the guinea pigs, and then we'll probably return to my boring old face at the end of it. If you missed the introduction video, then it's up in the cards now, and when we came to put the piggies in the cage, we decided to pop Pedro in first, give him a bit of time to just chill out, be on his own and explore the new surroundings, because I'm sure he's not really been in an environment like this. He's probably not seen fleece and things like that before, so we thought it would be a good idea for him to kind of acclimatise a bit first. Some of you said you felt a bit sorry for Pedro, which I totally get. He was a bit outnumbered and he didn't really know what to think of the girls at first. And something which I don't think I mentioned in the previous video was that he was at the RSPCA for a while on his own before he was ready to be adopted. So he was actually there since mid-November, which is about 4.5 months. And someone said they'd never seen a boy so uninterested in female company too, which is a fair point. For now though, I'm glad he has been a gentleman with the girls and he hasn't stressed them out at all. So let's dive into the first set of Q&A questions, and we start off with a super quick one. People asked, what breed is Pedro? Pedro is a Peruvian guinea pig. Next up, you asked, can male and female piggies live together? If so, do you have to spay and neuter? Male and female piggies can absolutely live together, but definitely yes, unless you want piggy babies, either the male or female should be neutered. Now, in most cases, this is the males, as the operation to neuter is much less invasive and less risky than a spay operation for a female. A lot of the time in rescues, males get neutered frequently so that they can be paired with females. And in case you missed it, Pedro is neutered. Question number 3 was, what is the best way to keep your guinea pigs entertained? If you have a feeling that your piggies are bored, there's all sorts of things you can do to try and give them a bit more enrichment. So big things like providing them with a bigger cage will obviously make a big difference, but even with lots of things in the cage, some piggies do get lazy. And for me, I find the best way to keep them stimulated is to just interact with them throughout the day or evening or whenever you're at home. This can be simple things like hand feeding, even hiding food around the cage and watching them hunt it out, bringing them for lap time or floor time, rearranging things in the cage for them, and feeding them vegetables throughout the day instead of all at once. And it sounds weird, but I think sometimes even just your presence in the room helps. So for example, when I'm filming or even just working on my PC, they seem to get more responsive and active and interested in their surroundings. Lyra went in the cage next to join Pedro. Now, Lyra didn't really show any dominance behaviour towards him at all when we did the bonding in the living room, so I thought it was a good opportunity to kind of slowly introduce the piggies again to Pedro and let Lyra greet him in a nice, calm, gentle way. Back to the Q&A, and question number 4 was, how do I know if my boys are coexisting simply or actually happily living together? So this is a really interesting question. As for them being happy together, you can look out for obvious social signs such as them cuddling up together or grooming each other, but in general, piggies do like their own personal space, so you might not see these behaviours, and don't worry if you don't. However, in the vast majority of cases, just know that guinea pigs are happier with company of their own, as it's sort of an inbuilt thing for them. They instinctively live in herds and they're instinctively sociable animals. Next up was Roxy and Phoebe in the cage, and I'm not gonna lie, I was a bit nervous at this point. I just really hoped there was gonna be no more aggression from either of the two sisters. Next up, someone asked, my piggies are showing dominance behaviour and I wonder how I can make it more peaceful for them. Some dominance behaviours are entirely normal and to be expected. However, if you are worried that there's a lot of bullying type behaviour going on, then you can look at things such as increasing the cage size, providing multiple areas where food and hay is available, and giving a range of hideys. And also, it's useful to remember that dominance behaviours can take a long while to settle down. Sometimes it can be a few months before a dominant pig is content that they are the boss and their cage mates will not challenge them. In the long run, if problems continue, you could think about changing up the herd, maybe introducing a new piggy, or splitting the two problem piggies up and then giving them separate companions. So at this point, Roxy was showing a bit of dominance towards Pedro, but she was much calmer and just kind of more interested rather than being aggressive. And Phoebe was still defending the best spots in the cage, but I'm really glad to tell you that this was the last time she attacked Pedro like this. Question number 6 was, what dominance behaviours are normal? Normal behaviours include things like nipping and lunging. Some teeth chattering is okay, but not too much. Rumble strutting, that hiss noise that Roxy was making in the last video, if you saw that, and turning sideways to make them look bigger can be quite a normal dominance response. In general, when you introduce piggies, you want to resist the urge to intervene, as when you do, you interrupt them setting up a hierarchy. So whilst you can be there holding the towel, only throw it over them if it looks like a serious fight is breaking out. Be ready for this if neither piggy is backing down, but if a submissive piggy is being attacked and chased by a dominant one, avoid intervening, as the dominant one will only keep trying to do the same and sort of needs to do it so he or she can be happy that they have asserted their dominance. And this was definitely me when Phoebe and Pedro had those moments in the bed. I know the camera went down and it was almost looking as though I was intervening, but to be honest, I didn't get a chance to stop it before Pedro already jumped out and ran away. And despite Pedro's tormented face, it was probably best that I didn't stop this. So I got a couple more shots of the piggies taken over the next few days, and thankfully there was no more aggressive behaviour seen, which leads me to be a very happy pig mum. So on to the final few questions, and one of you said that they were expecting the male, Pedro, to be the boss, but is that not always the case? So this is a good one, because yes, in the wild, traditionally, the male guinea pig would be the boss and he would be in charge of a small group of females. However, in domesticated piggies, you do hear of strong female characters refusing to let the male be the boss, or sometimes you just get overly submissive males. So yes, don't always expect the male to be the boss. In my case, Pedro is still submissive, but I'm really interested to see how things might change in the future. Next up, someone asked, is it okay to try and bond piggies when one of them has lived on their own? My answer to this is yes, absolutely. Don't worry if a piggy has lived on his or her own for a short amount of time or a long amount of time. It's completely fine to introduce another guinea pig at any point. Always remember that guinea pigs are happiest in social groups. The next question is, what group of guinea pigs mix the best? For example, 2 girls and a boy, or 3 boys? Well, in general, it is thought that a neutered male with a female or a group of females is the most harmonious combination. However, of course, it depends on individual characters. For me, I found that a group of 4 females works well, especially if there are 2 different ages involved. So, for example, when I introduced Roxy and Phoebe as young babies to Willow and Lyra, they got along really well and the group sort of formed really easily. I've read that some people say a trio of girls can be bad because one can be more isolated, but I've had trios of girls in the past, including recently with Lyra, Phoebe and Roxy, and I haven't really experienced that. Now, groups of males can be tricky, but first know that it is possible to have 3 or more males living together. And 2 males often get along really well, especially if they've been raised together or there's an older male who's introduced to a young male. Males tend to get a bad reputation, but I think they have a lot of advantages over females, including the fact that they tend to be more social and more outgoing and confident around us humans. So please don't be put off by the idea of males, and remember that there are so many bonded male pairs in rescues looking for their forever homes. Okay, so that's all for this video, guys. I hope you enjoyed seeing Pedro and the girls in the cage together and hearing the Q&A questions. If they've just confused you more and you have more questions, then please pop them down in the comments below and I will get back to you. In the meantime, if you enjoyed the video, give us a thumbs up, and if you haven't already, then please consider subscribing to the channel. As always, thank you so much for watching, and we will see you in the next video. Bye bye!